are off and running. So I'm going to do a quick intro first. The amazing Therese Tarlinton. I'm actually pinching myself that she has agreed to do this because she's very, very clever and very, very special and very in demand. So we're lucky to have her. She specializes in collaborations and partnerships. She is a wonderful woman. She is helping me organize the Sydney Christmas party. So you're definitely going to see her there as well. And I'm now going to hand over to you to tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're going to talk about, Therese.
Yay, thank you. And oh, Jules, wow, I think I'm going to carry you around and you can take me everywhere, feeling very special. But I am the lucky one because since I've joined She's the Boss, I've had, amazing women reaching out to me and being incredibly helpful and supportive. I have gorgeous Sandy. I've been on her podcast, Jen. I'm like a huge girl fan of Jen. Everything she does, I love, and I've been a guest on her podcast as well. I'm literally gonna tell you every single thing that you ever want to know, and so don't hold back. As Jules said, if you, just because it is recorded, if you're like, oh, I'm doing a deal with Commonwealth Bank, maybe just say a bank. Something like that, just so we're not giving away any trade secrets in case anybody listens on YouTube and hears it in a couple of years' time or something like that. But this is what I'm going to do is kind of go through it. It's pretty much my keynote, so what I get paid to speak about, and it goes through, I guess, what is partnerships and what is marketing without money, with heaps of stories on businesses just like us, like small businesses doing it and actually doing it incredibly well. And that's going to go for about a half an hour. So we're going to have heaps of time for questions. And yes, please pop them in the chat if you're like, oh my God, what does she mean by that, or whatever, and we'll go through them. And we can definitely do open mic at the end. Like you can just jump off and kind of go, hey, but I want to do a deal with X. How would I do that? What would I structure? Also, I actually did a conference a couple of weeks ago, and I did a workshop and actually have kind of like this template of like all the different partnerships and how to find them and that kind of thing. So I'll send that through to Jules as well, and so you can grab that if you need it. But there's heaps of things that you can access, and so yeah, we'll go for that. But thank you for actually, because I know time is tight and I know you've all very busy women and incredibly, doing amazing things. So thank you for joining me. And I'm going to just jump straight in now and I'm going to share my screen. And so, Jules, can you just tell me that's okay?
It's okay. We've
Perfect.
got it. It looks beautiful.
Amazing. Thank you. You always want to make sure the tech works, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, here we go. So, who loves surprises? I think we all do, right? Like, especially if this was sitting on your bedside table when you got home, you'd be pretty happy. And so the thing is, brands do too. So we were very surprised, or I was particularly, when I saw Nike and Tiffany get together, because they're an unusual combination. And whether you like their limited edition sneakers or not, like they're not that great, it had millions of people talking about their brands. Both were like lining up down the street. It was on the chat. These images got shared across all of social media for a really long time. And that is because 71% of consumers told Inside Retailer magazine that they love when brands come together and create something interesting, chat-worthy, shareable. And the brands know that. And so they just keep doing it. So here you can see this is Louis Vuitton and Nike. This is, Adidas with Gucci. So fashion brands are really great at this. But how about this delicious combination? We've got Absolute Vodka and Heinz tomato sauce. So you can see that like this, but it is not just the domain for big brands. And the thing is, we as consumers, we've been buying into this for ages, right? So this is about, what we actually do. So as a business, what happened is American Express actually decided to look into this, and what they actually looked at was small and medium-sized companies. So they did a survey of their small and medium-sized customers and posed the question, does the investment made in collaboration generate a worthy return? And unequivocally, the answer was yes. The return on investment in less than 6 months took the form of increased sales, reduction in costs, or for some companies, both. So I want you to consider whether the piece that you're missing in your marketing strategy is collaboration. But just to unpack that a little bit, because some people are like, I'm not actually really sure what that is. Does it mean that they take a stake in my company? Does it mean I need to find, different companies to do different things? A collaboration is when two or more companies come together and they create something irresistible for their mutual customer. It is not when you have an equity partner. It is not a financial stake in your company. It is a marketing trigger or a marketing campaign that is used to create excitement, to create urgency, to create demand. And so these are the reasons that we do this. Collaboration is incredibly important for brands to get attention. We know this because when we're, as a brand, we're always saying the same things, like this is what we do, come buy my stuff, come try this out, or whatever. But when there's something that like breaks that circuit and people are like, what is that? What is she doing? Then we know that it actually works. And as I said, this is something we're buying into collaborations every single day and have for decades. This is not you. Like, this is not like it just happened when social media happened. I remember bugging my mum to take me to McDonald's to get a Happy Meal so I could get like a Smurf. I'm sure our own kids have done that to us, and from a closer point in time. I bet you've gone to Woolworths and you've bought the chocolate chip cookies, but only with Cadbury chocolate chips. I bet you've bought a laptop with an Intel chip inside. All of these are things that we have been doing for decades. This is not new. The power of this is that it was usually only the domain for big brands because of their marketing pool, but now small brands can do this really, really effectively and really change their future. So this is about, imagine if you could have another brand supercharge your brand, your business, where they would influence their customers to work with you, shop with you, choose you. And you wouldn't just have to rely on Facebook ads or traditional paid advertising. You could get in front of thousands of your ideal customers. You can increase the credibility of your brand by being linked with another brand. And you can actually make more profit because when you're differentiating, you're actually standing out and the price tension goes away. So collaborations are a very, very good, a safe way to actually make an impact in your business. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, just a tiny bit, just to give you a bit of a snapshot of how I discovered this and why I love it. So it was on a trip to America that I saw something so alluring that I had to know more. So there's a brand called Coldcraft, and they are about 75 years old. They are a manufacturer of baby products. They make high chairs, strollers, cots, everything like that. And they had got together with Jeep, the four-wheel drive company. So again, like Jeep is like Holden, like it's a really trusted brand in America. And so they got together and they created the Jeep baby stroller. Now, it had like the big pump-up tires, it had the steering wheel with the horn, it had indicators, and people were loving it. American parents were loving it. And so I was like, wow, this looks pretty cool. I wonder how I could get a piece of this. So I convinced them in my 20s to take a chance on some Aussie girl and actually bring it to Australia. So I brought it to Australia and I did my first partnership deal when I walked into Jeep, the car head office, and met up with the PR manager just to show her this new cool thing that I had found. And she said to me, "This is awesome. Hey, what about I do some PR for you and you give me a stroller?" Said, "Great, amazing, no problem. Like, absolutely, let's go." Now, she was amazing and she got me in every newspaper and magazine around the country, everything from the Financial Review to The Age. I was in regional magazines. I was in Bell. I was in Gizmo, which is a men's magazine, anything and everything, because it really touched a chord. It was something that was quite different when that actually happened. In that stage, when I bought that in, baby stuff was really boring, or it had like Cookie Monster on it. So it was kind of it was attributing to the child, not the parent. So this was about a brand extension of the parent. So I bought these in. This was great, and then but the day my whole business actually changed was when the day I got a phone call from Huggies. So Huggies is this, you know, obviously we all know Huggies, right? Like huge international brand, trusted by parents everywhere, and they had an idea. And their idea was actually to support their biggest customer, which was Coles. So their idea was, how about we do a competition for Coles to increase their sales, and we give away a Jeep for mother and baby. And what we're asking you, Therese, is would you be interested in this? We'll put your stroller on the side of every nappy box in the country for 3 months. We'll put you on all the point of sale. We'll put you in all the advertising and push you out. And you need to give us 4 strollers, which cost me like $500, $600, like nothing. And so that's like how it all started for me, because I then, the media had got me attention from Target. And so I got a deal with Baby Target. And then that then opened up all of these doors. So then all of these other retailers were wanting it, independent stores were wanting it. And so it really opened up from a B2B distribution, but also a B2C. So, and I think that this is the thing, like, I'm sure that probably some of you thinking like, why would Huggies want to work with a startup? The thing is, big brands need conversation. Like, there's only so many ways you can talk about nappies. And they got linked to a trending product. So something that parents were talking about. And as I said, what I got a flood of credibility, because all of a sudden Huggies was the brand that was talking about my product. And so then retailers, then the level of trust increased. So all of these retailers were interested, and then these parents as well were like, you know, banging down my door. So after that, I went to a trade show, and I remember it vividly because I was like, I want to capture this memory in my mind forever. And I was at a trade show, and there were like people like lined up, like waving cash, kind of going like, I want it first, like give it to me. It was just that popular. And that's why, because it actually had, you know, and so this tiny little, like what tiny little for me in terms of my output of cost turned into something amazing. And so out of my second bedroom in my first year of business, that's what got me to like $1 million in turnover. That promotion, that, you know, $500-600 in outlay. And of course, I was a really bad partner, as in like, I didn't even know what to do. So I didn't do anything. Now, oh my God, I would like juice that lemon for all it's worth. But at the time, I just was like, oh, that's nice, you know, that's cool. And so that's where I guess for me, my first love actually happened. And then from there, I actually was like, oh, I really like this partnership thing. Like this brand thing's good. So then I talked to the suppliers overseas. They had a deal with Sesame Street products. So I bought in potties and high chairs and stuff with Sesame Street, sold those into Toys R Us, had big container deals. So I would just walk in with a piece of paper of a picture of a potty, and I would sell container loads of stock like that. Like the brand got me in the door. And then because I loved fashion, I actually had an idea to do a fashion-led stroller range, and I approached Benetton in Italy. They thought it was such a good idea, they put it out to tender. So then I started competing with all of these companies around the world who had, you know, huge, like, billion-dollar companies, heaps of staff and whatever. And it got to the point where I was like, I'm not even going to try because I'm never going to win. And then I thought about it and thought, you know what? I've got to try. You got to try, right? And so I really got really, really, really deep on branding. What did Benetton's brand stand for? How could I translate that? What would it feel like to be a young parent pushing a Benetton stroller? What would that say about the parent? What would that aspirational use of that logo look like? How would the fabrication work? So I did like a denim and jersey stroller, like a jeans and t-shirt stroller. And that was my pitch. And they loved it. So I won that against these huge companies, and I had 2 staff, you know. And that for me was a really big thing because, again, it was about how do I leverage this? Now, that brand, that Benetton brand, then allowed me to set up distributors in 5 countries. It got me into all of these huge retailers in Europe and London and Asia, because of that Benetton brand. Whereas if I'd walked in just as Therese with a blue stroller, they wouldn't have looked twice at me. So I'm a huge, huge, huge believer in branding, in licensing and taking the equity of somebody else's brand and using it for yourself to gain that edge. So at that time as well, so when it got to its biggest, I was exhibiting in Germany, had this big, big show and for Benetton, and I actually got approached and with an offer that I couldn't refuse, and I sold up, which was pretty cool. But that is still, like, I am immensely proud of that journey. Like, that's something that, like, I can't even believe happened. You know, I'm really proud of that. And it was a different time. Like, social media wasn't a thing, you know, it was different. So still great, but again, like, oh my gosh, today it would be harder because there's so much more noise, but easier because there would be so many ways to leverage it. So I saw that company, and then I was thinking, well, how do I actually do this for other companies in Australia? So what can I do to actually teach them about partnerships? So first up, it was around e-commerce. So Grays Online is part of the Grays group, and in that it was an auction website. So you can buy anything on there, from like a bottle of wine to a car to a boat to a used wedding dress, like anything and everything. And they were looking to, you know, to actually get more bidders onto their site. So there was a McGrath Foundation. I was friends with somebody there. And so we had the idea to auction pink diamond rings, pink diamond jewelry. So McGrath actually pushed it out to their base. We pushed it out to ours. So what happened? So McGrath got the profit of the auctions of the pink diamonds. They got linked to pink diamonds, which increased, you know, their awareness and their level of brand. And they got a whole heap of money, which allowed them to do what they ultimately want to do, which is breast care nurses. And what did Grays Online get? So it got the credibility of, you know, linking with different charities. Charities have incredible loyal followers. And those loyal followers came over and registered on the website. Of course, we pushed our marketing engine into that. And so those people stayed on that website. And because I obviously had a tracking code, of course I did, Jen, then we actually made sure that we tracked all of those people. Those people went on to spend another like $3 million on the website. And again, there's no money changing hands. That was just like, we used the website, you know, got a supplier in, they made sure that we were all okay, and we created an event, these events. So like Delta Goodrum sharing it and going, oh my God, this is amazing. And so we actually used that buzz. So they also owned a little tiny retailer called OO. And OO was like a department store. It had everything in it. And so I was leading marketing at that time. And so I was like, I need a big idea. If I've got a little brand, I need a big idea. So that was after like Oprah had done the, you get a car, you get a car. And so I was like, how cool would it be to do something like that? That would be the ultimate. And so I approached The Living Room, their TV show. I'd already started working with them, and I had done an integration, which was I was auctioning off bottles of wine on TV, a little bit TVSN in 2 minutes. So they knew, and they were getting heaps and heaps of sales. So they already knew me. And so what I did is I went to them and I said, I've got an idea. I want to do something like the Oprah thing. And what I'm thinking is, why don't we have a Christmas audience? We get all of these people into the audience, and Santa takes their Christmas wish. So Santa had an earpiece. It went through to my warehouse. We had elves, our staff, picking all the presents, wrapping them up with, orange paper and green bows. And we got it into a truck, got it to Piedmont, opened the doors. The audience, everybody got their Christmas wish granted. There were tears, there was like screaming, there was all these things. Amazing. So the reaction was perfect. So what happened there? So the living room as a production company, they were great in terms of that was their highest rating episode of the season. So then they were perfect. They loved it. Channel 10 actually got a whole heap of media in terms of TV Week and 2GB, which allowed them to actually start increasing their rates for next year's advertisers for around the living room. And this tiny little retailer, we increased the sales by 50% leading up to Christmas. And again, yes, we gave out all these prizes, but it was like, thousands of dollars, whereas that TV appearance to actually buy that airtime would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it was a very small thing that had a very big impact. And then I went to work for CSR, which is building products, so gyprock, bricks, plasterboard, insulation, weatherboard, stuff like that. So building products. And they already had a deal with the block. And I'd already been working with selling houses and the living room and stuff like that. So I went in and renegotiated that deal a little bit to get more deliverables. Deliverables like the footage that didn't go to air. I was like, I want that footage. And I negotiated things like for Scotty to say the word, you'll need a gyprocker instead of you need a plasterer. So we started renegotiating, got all of that. So when you think about this deal, like again, it's about like who wins in this. And so the block, so CSR gave the block more than $1 million worth of building products. That would have actually come out of their production budget, or it would have actually meant that they couldn't kind of do the show. That was a huge, like it's all the building products, right? So more than $1 million worth of building products. Of course, we all know cost of goods, right? So that is actually a couple of 100,000, not millions. And then what then CSR got off that. So we, as I said, we got all the assets. So footage, mentions, and this is where my job was to take these snippets and like milk it and turn it into a year-long marketing campaign. So, and because at CSR's customers are builders, architects, engineers, interior designers, the professionals. So what I did was strategically place new products on the block. We then use the footage to actually get out to our customers, builders, interior designers, and we help them upsell the customer to the new product. And it also helped, the TV appearances helped the builders say, we want to use these brands. And they were like, yes, I've heard of them. So it actually allowed the builders to get more margin in their deals and allowed them to actually upsell and get more profit as well. Clearly what it did for CSR, we got increased sales because we use the assets. And so it's not the TV time, it's what you do with the TV time. So you take that and you make it into 100 other things and actually push it out the other side to the people who can actually make more money from it. And then, of course, CSR is a listed company, share price increased. So like all these things happen from, one deal. So that's still a deal that is happening. And also most of these deals are done to keep your competitors out. So more than anything else, what did CSR not want? They didn't want anybody else taking that real estate, on TV. So that's kind of how I did it myself. And so this is all about how do you get seen? How do you get talked about? Like this is creating this buzz. So So, and for me, this is about the ultimate win has to be the customer. So when we looked at that, like the people who got this amazing. So when we looked at, you know, so we looked at the pink diamonds. Well, someone got a pink diamond that was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars for a fraction of that, and to write it off tax and help a charity. And then the people in the audience, you know, and we actually went to all the charities. So the people in the audience were families that needed help. So these people got Christmas presents that otherwise they probably wouldn't have gotten. And CSR, like in terms of, and the block wouldn't have been able to actually build the houses for the last 19 years had it not been that they actually got the building company to be a part of it. So all of this time, it's like, who's winning? And it has to be a three-way win. And from the customer's point of view, this is like, I could go to one of these companies individually, or actually the companies that are creating something really cool for me. This is better than interacting with them by themselves. So do you want to know how you can do this yourself? This is usually when I get a big response from the crowd. Yeah, this is what I want.
Yes, woohoo.
So there's three main types of collaborations. So one is where you use your product or your service and you co-brand something. The next is when you use your knowledge or your IP to create a digital collaboration. And the third is when you use your location or create a physical in-person experience to create this really beautiful, you know, memory, this immersive experience. And this is where I really want to show you like how these are just normal, everyday brands, Australian brands that are doing it. These are not big companies. And I want to kind of walk you through how it works. So the first one is gin and skincare. And this is what I want to show you as well. It's not wine and cheese, right? Like you've got your really nice normal ones. They work too, but I'm showing you the ones that are like a little bit different are the ones that kind of get people talking about. So this is gin and skincare. So Four Pillars Gin is owned by, you know, three mates. I think Stu Gregor's just sold out of it actually, but this is Four Pillars Gin, so a Melbourne company, and their ambition or their aim was to get their gin in the glasses of more women. So how do they do that? So they actually had a chat to Zoe Foster-Blake, who had Go-To Skincare, obviously loved by women, really identifiable from the peach packaging. And so they created, wait for it, you've probably seen it, the new Go-To gin. So the new Go-To gin, of course, was peach flavored. It had peach branding to represent Zoe's brand. It had all the beautiful botanicals and was a beautiful gin created by Four Pillars, which is a amazing gin. And then what Zoe actually did was she included a sample. So a sample of one of her best-selling face masks. So you could, you know, put on your face mask and have a gin and, you know, enjoy yourself. So this was something that was super simple. Now, of course, when you look at this, there's cost involved in this, okay? So as in Four Pillars would have needed to have done that new label, of course. But, you know, really they were already making gin. They actually just, you know, had a peach flavor. They're always sampling new flavors anyway. So this kind of worked for them. But what happened is they had all this marketing ready, but Zoe put out one post and said, hey, who wants the new Go-To gin? And it sold out in 2 hours.
Wow.
So they didn't even need their marketing. And this is because you've got, like, yes, Zoe is a bit of an influencer, so we'll, you know, preface that. But this was about something alluring. Now, Four Pillars Gin are excellent at doing this. They have done really good collaborations with Gelato Messina. So Gelato Messina, you could go to Gelato Messina and get a Christmas cake infused gin gelato during December. And then they've swapped it and you can actually get the chocolate, vanilla and strawberry kind of Gelato Messina flavored gelato gin. So that was another Christmas pack that they did. So they're very good at actually finding opportunities to link with other brands to get to their ideal customers. The next one is if you're a service. So for many of us, we've got a service, right? So Jono Fleming, just like us, he lives in Melbourne, total awesome guy, but just single man band from his house, giving it a crack. So Jono is an interior designer and Globe West is a furniture brand. So Jono has a podcast, and so that's Julianne, his just mate, and they have a podcast called The House of Style, and they invited Ketty, and Ketty is the head of design for Globe West. So they had her on as a guest. So that was the first relationship building. But then Ketty was like, I really like this guy. So what she did is she made Jono a designer in residence for Globe West. So what Jono did is, from his being an interior designer, he created articles like what size rug to what size rug is appropriate for your lounge room. He did how to style a dining room table, how much light do you need for a bedroom. And so he created all of these assets. Now, he actually pushed those out to his audience, but Globe West took all of those and they actually put them in social, put them in emails, put them in newsletters, like used all of his reference of being an interior designer and the credibility of that. They even did a whole lot of VIP events. So they invited customers into the store. Jono, they told them to take pictures of the room that they were trying to style, and Jono would help them. And so Jono was like, I totally go with the terracotta, or yes, the 2.5-seater would be way better than the 3-seater, and actually help them make those decisions. So what happened with that is, when you think about, so you've got Globe West, so that it's all about customer satisfaction and increased, because obviously we are all like, I'm not sure. And so we sit on the fence and we don't buy the 2.5-seater or the 3-seater because we're not sure. So it substantiated the decision-making and help their customers actually get to the right decision. Of course, there was increased sales, but for them, it was around their NPS score and actually making it a better customer experience. And Jono, as I said, that was when I kind of came across Jono. And so I actually got him to create the Blockcast, which was a podcast about the block when I was looking after that for CSR, because no one wants to listen to a CSR podcast about building products, right? But having an interior designer talk to all of these contestants, Ketty, we had Shelley, we had all these people on it, and we seeded in, what about when they did this in the bedroom? What about that fireplace with that stone? Da, da, da. And so we seeded in all the product references. So Jono could talk about the product, but it wasn't the company talking about the product. And of course, the guests responded very nicely. And of course, I took all those sound grabs, all those things that those people said, made it into articles, made it into LinkedIn, made it into social posts, and pulled it apart. But it was his credibility of being an interior designer that kind of got us over the line. That then got him friendly with the block. He then actually did Scotty's house. When they did the country, well, Scotty had, that was actually him doing the house, not Scotty. And then that actually and so we used to deal with Bunnings, and I introduced him to Bunnings, and he became the face of the Bunnings renovation series. So he's now got millions and millions of views on all of his videos. Amazing, right? So he's done really, really well out of it. Next up is the credibility. So again, this could be any one of us. This is like a solopreneur and an institution. So Zara is a building biologist. So she, after a bout with cancer, she wanted to have a home that had a healthy home. And so she looked at all the building products that actually had were done in a sustainable and healthy way. And the Australian Institute of Architects obviously is a membership as a group. What do they want? They need new members, they need memberships to renew, they need to show best in class, they need to show, innovation. And so what they did was they got together and Zara created a webinar series for them. So in this series, they actually walk through what it takes to make a healthy home. Now, from Australian Institute of Architects, they didn't have a specialist in that area, so they were void in that area, so that actually elevated them. They knew from the surveys that people wanted to know this stuff, but they had a gap. They couldn't teach it. Also, Zara was impartial. There were suppliers who would come and talk about their brand only, but Zara could actually talk about all brands and didn't have an affiliation with anybody. Now, Zara, again, just like us, you know, she's in Melbourne and operating out of her house. She now, from that series, she has contracts with 104 architects on homes that they're building, which has changed her life. So that was just, you know, so what did she do? She created a webinar, so they're just like this, and she actually presented it like a few times, and that was it. No problems, done. So it was a very small thing that had a very big impact. So now I want you to just like take a second. And so this is, you know, this is where I usually say, turn to the person next to you and have a quick chat. But this is where I want you to really think about like what brands have got the same customer as you and what would you do? So this could be that you're, you know, yoga studio and a coffee shop. You know, it could be, you know, for like the property. So for Christine with property development, it could be like, okay, well, clearly the natural matches would be maybe a broker or a real estate agent, but actually who else is talking to your customers? So they are, you know, families, or are they, you know, small business owners who need to go to a broker to get finance? You know, who else is talking to that customer? In terms of, you know, Karen and Jen around that kind of, you know, awards, social media, marketing, PR, then obviously we're always being asked like every day, right? Like, do you know someone who can do SEO? Do you know someone who can build my website for me? Do you know someone who can do this? So there are natural affiliations, right? Like we can actually recommend different people, and we probably do all the time. So what are the people that we automatically recommend? But when we haven't actually created marketing around it. So we haven't created something that actually builds those leads while we sleep. We just, because we're nice people, we just go, oh, you should totally ring Jen. Jen's your answer. So thinking about, I guess, who are the people who've got the same customers as you? So it's customers, same customers as you. So whether that's tradies, whether that's small business owners, whether that is event organizers, whether that is, you know, conscious consumers. So who, you know, what are the brands that are affiliated with that? What are the charities? You know, like who are all these people that are talking to your same customers? And what would you do? So as I said, this is about, you could use your product, you could use your knowledge, you could use an event, you could speak, podcast, you know, you could create an article. So this is like really just like what is possible. So what I'll keep doing is I'll keep going just so you can keep thinking about it. But this is really about like what is possible. And why I want to show you this is because She's the Boss is awesome. And so there's, I reckon, a heap of us that could put our heads together and do something cool. So so these are three mates, and everyone lives in Melbourne. These are three guys who live in Melbourne. This is, you know, Andrew, which I know Jen knows very, very well, and Darren and Michael. And so they're three mates, and they had an idea, and so they got together with three other mates. So Andrew takes the idea of a book out of your head and gets it into, you know, a Word document or a manuscript. Darren Finkelstein is an accountability coach, so he keeps you on track. And Michael is a publisher, so takes your manuscript and makes it into a book. And so they got together with three other mates. So the portrait store is Jason, so a photographer, because you need a headshot on the back of your book. McPherson's is a printer, so it actually takes your book and makes it into a paperback. And then our beautiful She's the Boss hero, Mel Hurd, does the best book trailer, so a video book trailer. So when you look at all of these guys, like, you know, so it's 6 companies who got together, and what did they create? They created a competition. So the competition was a book writing and publishing package worth $30,000. Now look at that figure, $30,000. There's 6 parties. They contributed $5,000 each of value that is at their RRP. So it would be $5,000 worth of consulting from Andrew, or a program, or a headshot package, or, you know, whatever, right? So it was actually the printer did have a very physical cost. But most of the other ones, it's your time, right? It's your time and your knowledge that you're actually donating. So again, like think about this for a second. This was a competition. Now, this could have been a weekend away, like a weekend retreat, right? It could have been a podcast series. It could have been a webinar series. It could have been that these 6 people got together and created a book or a course on how you could actually do this yourself. So they could have created a product. They could have created, the service, like a course. They could have created assets. And so what they did, and so when they came together, there's no money changing hands, right? Like, so they're all giving one service to the winner. The winner gets the benefit. The service that they're contributing is they all go into a decision making, and their decision making is, let's give the customer the ultimate win, but yet let's use all of our channels to promote this. So of course, all of them were contributing articles and social media, and then they were all sharing it on their own platforms, in their own newsletters, in their own, so Andrew's on stage, he was talking about it on stage, so they were using all of their assets or their leverage of what they'd already built to push the promotion out. Now, who wins? The customer. But the customer who doesn't win also gets a win, because they're learning from articles and everything what you actually need to create a book. And when they want to create a book, they know who the right photographer, or go to Mel Hurd to get a video. So they're learning as well. And the whole thing is, that's a database, right? All of those people on that database, those 6 companies are individually marketing to those people for an individual service after the competition has ended. And those 6 companies have the exact same customer, but none of them compete. And that's the clincher, right? Like that's the thing. Like, imagine, if all of us got together. Imagine if we created where you actually had a powerful pitch deck and you could apply for awards in social media. And then we had Jen could be a guest on Jen's podcast, and Jen had her email course that you could do. And I helped them do partnerships, and Sandy, because they were older, Sandy actually elevated their business. Like, what if the 6 of us got together and actually created something irresistible to our target customer? And last one, I promise, is this is in person, because I love in person, because people remember stuff, right? You remember the smell and the taste and who you met and what you wore and if your shoes hurt and what the goodie bag was, and you remember stuff when it's in person. So this is an artist and a restaurant. This is Lara. She's my friend. She lives down the road from me in Balmain, and she is an abstract artist. Now, she's excellent at collaborating. She has done a deal with Designer Rugs, so you can get her artwork on carpet. You can get it through Luxe Wallpaper, so for big installments of restaurants and hospitality. It has her art large scale. She's also done candles, where a candle manufacturer talked to her, and the labels are actually her art that she created. So she is really, really good at this. And she had a new collection coming out, of course. She wants to sell it. And she went to a networking event, and she met a guy called Matteo. Matteo actually has just a small Italian restaurant on William Street, which is near the big Coke sign at King's Cross, that kind of iconic strip. And they decided to put their heads together and come up with something. So they decided to create an event for one night only. And on that one night, you would come to Visio and you would meet Lara. Her artwork would be on the walls. You could talk to the artist. You could get inspiration. You could talk about your lounge room. And then Matteo's chef, Salvatore, was so inspired by Lara's artwork that he created a signature dish you could only get on that one night. So if you wanted to try this beautiful dish, you had to come that night. So what happened is it sold out. So it was actually a jam-packed full restaurant, and Lara actually sold a heap of her artwork, which was amazing because they're pretty expensive. And then what Visio got was they actually got to have a whole heap of people in their restaurant that came in that were like from Balmain and other areas that were like, oh, I love this. This is really cool. I'm definitely coming back. I love the food. I love the atmosphere. Yeah, it's easy to get here. Oh yeah, this is great. So Again, no money changed hands. It was just actually a collaboration. They both used, there was like flyers. They put up some Lara's artwork early and kind of had, you know, pointing to it, like come meet the artist. Lara's got a gallery. She was pushing it out. They pushed out emails, social, and everything to actually get their databases together. Sorry, just a quick question. No one's sharing databases, so privacy policy thing here. Each party actually, you'd work together on like a common email, and then you would both send it out to your email bases singly, you know, because got to be careful. Privacy policy, right? Oh, I didn't say it right. So that, yeah, this is Lara's artwork. It's a bad photo. And these are the signature. These are the chef there on the night. So this is for you. This is it. I'm wrapping it up, I promise. So this is all about, like, I want you to, I'm showing you these ideas because it really is about ideation. It is about coming up with something and actually going, what if we actually came together and did something? And I'm showing you these small businesses because I want you to see that even as a very, very small business, you can have a very big impact. So lots of people come to me and they're like, oh, I'm just starting out. I'm really small. I don't have anything. And I'm like, you have heaps. You have heaps. And no one believes me. So one night with a glass of wine, I actually created a list. You can have it. It is 103 assets that you probably are sitting on or you don't even realize that you have that you could use to do partnerships with other brands. And now the thing is, you only need one or two, right? Like you don't need 103. But I'm showing you 103 because these are the things that you're like, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think that I could actually use that research that I'd done already, or that report, or that case study, or something like that. Like they're things that are sitting idle in your company that you can actually start to milk it and use it as an asset, use it as a way to actually work with another business. Because the thing is, we all like completely envy each other, right? Like I'm, as I said, I'm like a huge girl fan of Jen. Like I'm like, oh my God, Jen's amazing. So we always look at each other's businesses and are like, I wish I was like that. I wish I had what she has. I wish that I could be like her. I wish that I could get that event or that whatever. And the answer is you can. You just need to actually make a phone call. So this is where I want you to really think about what is possible, right? And think of it from the customer's point of view. So when we looked at like the, new go-to gin, in the customer, so you put yourself in your customer's shoes for a minute, or maybe you wanted those Nike runners, those Nike Tiffany runners, which I actually did an event and someone actually did walk up to me and said, can I still get them? Because I really want them. But the thing is, in the customer's eyes, that collaboration, it creates fascination. Like, what is that? How did they do it? When was it available? Where do I get it? How many are there? And so it creates fascination, which creates urgency. And that urgency is about a sale because it gives you a reason. So instead of just talking same old, we're actually giving someone a reason. So the fascination is around that, how the two are actually working together. And then, as I said, when you can totally like milk that. And so you can turn those assets into content that then enable you to get leads, like while you sleep. It's not just me introducing Jen to somebody. It's actually, me doing the next step and saying, hey, here's what Jen does. I've got it on my website. Here's where we actually did something together. She's so clever, blah, blah, blah. So this is where you really want to do this. And so just to wrap it up, 3 forms. So first, co-brand a product or a service. Second, use your knowledge or your IP. Or third, create something, an experience that people will remember. And if you're still thinking, I need ideas, well, hello, I want you to see that partnerships are, I forgot this one. Partnerships are everywhere. This is your big opportunity where you can actually look at your business, look at the assets that's sitting dormant. And it is really an opportunity for you to talk to other people, have a curious conversation and see where it leads. This is totally something that anybody can do. And I guess I would say just, start off small, right? Like the easiest collaborations to do are where you actually just reach out to another brand and go, hey, I'm always talking about you. Like, I'm always recommending they listen to Sandy's podcast. You should totally listen to that. Hey, I've got an idea. What if we created a webinar together where we actually put our audiences together and invited both, and we did a little thing? Find an easy yes, as in just it's something that's it's very easy to say yes to, like, oh, a webinar, or hey, I actually wrote an article, and in that article I talked about 5 podcasts you need to listen to right now. And hey, it's got Jen's podcast, it's got Sandy's podcast on it as well. Of course, it's got Jules. And so then I've written that article, I've put it on my website. Hey, do you want it? Do you want to share this? So then they're like, oh, yeah. And so they're like, oh, Therese wrote about her 5 favorite podcasts, and I'm on that. And so you're sharing it out on social, and then you're actually, tagging people in and doing that kind of thing. So it can be where it's just super simple. Because the thing is, once you get like an easy yes, then you can actually go for the next stage and go, hey, that worked really well. Why don't we do more? So what if you are still needing ideas? This is my little gift to you. So it is 47 ways to build your brand and your bottom line. Super, super easy. So you can grab that. I'm going to keep flicking. I'm just taking a photo. Great. There's a QR code at the end as well. It's got it at everything. So, but I'm giving you everything, honestly. Like, just tell me whatever you want. But this is the ebook. Probably some of you might know I've written a book. So my book is called Swap: Marketing Without Money. It's won a few awards, doing okay. Yeah. So that's the recipe. That is literally a recipe book. Thank you, Sandy. That is a recipe book that literally goes through what are the assets you're sitting on, what do you want out of a partnership, what's your objective, how to find a partner, how to pitch a partner, do a deal, over deliver on the deal, extend the deal into media and retailers and everything else, wrap up the deal with a success report, which is a case study, really. So you can show your partner how clever they were to do business with you, which also helps you get the next deal, and you can turn your taxi light on. So it is a very, very simple way to do it. Now, I've got you all covered, because you can either get a paperback, you can get it on Audible, or you can get it on Kindle. So, and if you go to the link that I'll even give it to you as well. I have courses, just a tiny little plug. If you don't want to read the book or listen to it, Marketing Without Money is a video series. It's $99, and it will get you from 0 to hero in, an hour and a half, and you will know every single way. So it's the recipe. And if any of you know anybody who is a brand who's had some TV appearance, I actually have a course called Room Reveal to Revenue, which is about how to maximize your TV appearance, because these little brands need to do a lot more than what they're doing. Of course, you can work with me. This is a very busy slide. It's taken from my, page, but basically, you can work with me in terms of where we literally unlock, where you can actually find partnerships and those hidden opportunities that you're sitting on and you don't even realize. So I kind of work with you to go through that in a session. I kind of get under the bonnet and look at what you're doing. And then I'll do a follow-up session for She's the Boss people. And I've even made it a special deal. So that is for you, my friends. And of course, this is the end. And I want you to just remember one thing, which is we are stronger and we are better when we work together. We're just more powerful. We could rule the world. So on this QR code is Linktree. I'm sure you've all got a Linktree. If you haven't got a Linktree, you should get a Linktree. And this is one QR code. And so on that, you'll see the book. So you can get the book, audio book for free. You can get the 103 ways. You can book an appointment. You can do anything and everything with me. And that, my friends, is all. And sorry, that took longer than a half an hour. So I'm sorry for that. I got a bit excited.
I don't think anyone would be complaining. That was friggin' amazing. Well done. Thank you. That's got all of my creative juices flowing. How about everyone else? Yeah, look at all the clapping. Okay, well, look, I can't even begin to tell you how great that was, Therese. Thank you. What I think we will do is start running through the questions, and then if we've got time, we'll open it up to a bit of a discussion and people can talk about their own situations. You've got me really thinking about a prize, obviously. Do you know, weirdly, I set one up for handle your own PR and then never did anything about it. So I'm going to be in touch with all of you about this. Okay, questions are, what costs involved in collaborations? I get they're different to affiliate marketing. Is it always a fair swap other than you have to, pay for your own advertising, marketing, whatever?
Yeah, okay. So great, Pam, great question. So when you're doing a collaboration, so say you were the gin or say you were doing like Nike and Tiffany, like you're creating a limited edition product, totally there's costs. Anytime that there are like real costs involved, definitely get a contract, definitely go legal. Like, you want to protect yourself because that's like a minimum run, you're committing to things, like it is a big deal. However, most of the collaborations that we will do will be not very litigious in terms of hey, Jules, I want you to, I'm going to share an article with you, I'll put it on my website, you put it on your website, and we'll both go out and do it. Or hey, let's do an event and we'll go halves in the cost, there's going to be ticket sales anyway, they're going to cover the costs and whatever. So I guess the thing is what the costs involved in collaboration, if it is a co-branded product, yes, definitely costs, definitely legal costs you should cover 100%. But most of them are a A4 document where it's more like a heads of agreement where you go, I'll do this and you do that. The biggest problems with partnership, where partnerships fall over, is not the partnership. It's where, so Jules and I, not Jules and I would never do this, but hypothetically, Jules and I had a conversation and then we go, let's do this. And then Jules goes, oh, I thought you were going to put it in 170 different emails, not one. And I thought you were going to send it out and I thought you were going to do 1,500 posts, not one, and whatever. So partnerships fall over because we just assume when you say an email, you go, oh no, I'm only emailing people in Sydney. I'm not going to email my whole database. And you go, oh, I thought you would. So a heads of agreement is just like where it couldn't be clear. I always say a heads of agreement is like if you decided to go on a holiday or, someone got sick in your family and you were not running this collaboration and you had to get like your VA to actually run this, then it had like everything that somebody else could understand. And on the other side, so again, just say that they go on holidays or they get sick or whatever, and their niece comes in to run the company or whatever. What is it that you have agreed to? So this is where you're like, it's an email, it's out to a whole database, approximately 4,000 people. It will go out, in 14th of July, or it will go out in the July newsletter. There will be a backlink. There will be 2 photos, all this kind of thing. And so it's where you just be incredibly clear. When I would do deals with all the TV shows, it was things like I would actually write how to say the brand name. I know that seems ridiculous, but if you get your 5 seconds of fame and then they say your brand name wrong, it's like monumental, right? So I would be like, this is how you say the brand name. So there was a brand called Cementel, but some people used to say Cementel. And I'd be like, no, like Sem-in-tel, like cement intelligence. That's what it's called, cement intelligence, Sem-intel. And they were like, oh, I didn't realize. So it's things like that. It is things like, oh no, people might, I'm making this up for Jen, like people might actually use not her podcast, but her name, or maybe Jen wants her podcast and not her name, or her name, not her podcast. So same with Sandy. So it's just being really clear. This is the account that I want you to tag. This is what I want you to do. This is the backlink. I will do a Google Dropbox and it will have 3 photos. The 3 photos will be the same, but one will be a square for Instagram, one will be a Facebook, and one will be a banner for a website. This is a call to action. This is the link, which is a trackable link. And so it's just imagine that your VA was going to execute this deal for you. Again, it doesn't have to be litigious. It doesn't have to be like this massive document. It's just Blind Freddy could could work this out, right? Like it's just so clear. This is going to happen. And so it's like, I agree to do this. You agree to do this. That's it. So in terms of costs, you would usually do your own cost. So if I'm going to send out an email and, or maybe I'm doing something on Eventbrite and it's going to cost me $14.95, then, you could say, well, actually, I think, if I pay the $14.95, can you do this? But I think the thing is, it is not a bartering system. It is not, I will give you one Facebook post and you give me one Instagram post. It's like, what can we do and use everything in our toolbox to make this like blow up?
Blow up. Brilliant.
That's the spirit of intent. And so no cost. And so what they're different to affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is where, there is a link and there is a commission attached to that. It could be that, like some deals you might see where they're like, it might be a sweetener. So for example, I might say, hey, Jen, can you push my course for me? We'll do this, this, and this. This is all free. This, and this. But actually, I want to give you an affiliate link for the course. And so if we talk about the course and then someone buys the course and they use that link, then I'll give you 20% of the course fee. So it can be an add-on, like a top-up, like a sweetener that you could use. And in terms of some process tips on identifying, exploring potential, okay, here's it. Like the easiest one is the people who we already recommend are your easiest partners. And if you've never done partnerships before, just do partnerships with them, because it's a bit like couch to 5K, right? Like I need you to kind of get off the lounge and actually move your body and move your legs and, and then, like if you're like, I've never done a partnership before and I'd like to do one with Commonwealth Bank next week. And I'm like, never going to happen. One, because Commonwealth Bank is slow. It takes a year, like maybe a year to do a deal. It just is slow. That's not going to happen. So how about you actually do 5 other deals in between? You start working on Commonwealth Bank, but you actually do all these ones in between, because that's not going to come off for a while. So find the people who are natural. So again, you need to get really detailed on your ideal customer and then almost go, right, who's our ideal customer? Where do they shop? What do they eat? What do they read? What do they do? What do they love? And I think is like, you look at us, like, so we are small business owners. But what do we also like? We also might like yoga. We also have kids in school. We also have like all these things. We are multidimensional. So it doesn't have to be like you could target me as somebody who likes Pilates, not Therese, the business owner. This is about giving this ideal customer an amazing experience. So how you find the right partners is to literally look closely at your customers and then work out what they're doing and then who are the brands that they trust.
Now, Therese, I'm just going to jump ahead and then you can go, and then we'll go to a couple of questions because I don't want to miss this one about the legalities in terms of state or federal issues in terms of the prize pool and the amount if you decide to do that, because having worked in sales promotion a long time ago, I know there were a whole lot and every state had different ones.
Yes.
But do you need to do that if it's just in kind and you're all scratching each other's back and you create the ultimate prize of, $150,000, whatever?
Yeah. Look, so that competition, you can see it didn't have any permits on the bottom. No. So my recommendation is follow, do the permits. It's a pain in the ass. It's not expensive. There's quite a few states where you don't need a permit. Also, most states you don't need a permit if it's a game of skill. So if they have to actually do something, so if they have to write, 5
words or less about why they want to win the prize.
Yeah. And you can make it really, like, people then go, oh, I don't know how to answer that. I might not win. But if you're like, I've done ones where I've made it like ridiculous, like, tell me if you won this holiday, or like where you go for a holiday. As in, I don't care where you want to go for a holiday. I just need you to actually write something so then I can just do a random draw anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't say that, but that kind of thing where it's like there's a question around like what that looks like. So yes, so you should always look at terms and conditions, of course.
Yeah, okay, cool. I know that we are, one of the things I say in PR is if you are doing a prize or something with a media outlet, and those kind of promos are easy to do,
Mm.
you are going to do something like that, then make the skill or the answer, you know, if they've got to answer something, make it something where they've got to go on your website and find something out so that you get that traffic to your website as well. Okay, what about two-sided marketplaces? Is it the end user for both?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's from
Cheryl,
Sugar.
do you want to tell me the two side? Oh, no,
She's
she's
not
not.
here.
Okay. All right.
I think what she's got, having had a chat with her a while ago, is she's listing different activities and it's a directory.
Yeah.
So, well, yes, I mean, she could easily be doing promos with the people
Yeah.
who are in her directory. That's to
Well,
me.
it's like every single person on her directory probably has, like, if you've got, yeah, like absolutely. You
Yeah,
look at,
win a year's gym membership from blah blah or whatever would
yeah,
be.
with a wardrobe from Lululemon.
Yeah, and they both promote it.
Yeah, and a
Okay.
Spotify playlist that doesn't cost anything for a year, and health cover from Bupa,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you know,
Okay, so Christine said, Therese, how do we choose a different customer base who have the same customers? What do you mean by that, Christine?
What I mean by that is I'm currently working with Bendigo Bank, which is great. And you've given me lots of ideas, thank you. And then, of course, you've talked about mortgage brokers and accountants and so forth like that. So they're generally a no-no because they've already got their affiliates and they're already doing that. So how did you bring in the stroller to the Jeep? Okay, so the extension of it was so left field. How do we get so left field from what do we do? So and everything that you've promoted has been very left field. It hasn't been, I mean, the synergy, the very first synergy in Melbourne was McDonald's and a petrol station, was McDonald's at a mobile petrol station. And that was a huge left field synergy. But of course, that was 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so our synergy has come in, there's a lot more synergy, but they're very left field. So how do we determine the left field synergy? Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, so I spoke at a mortgage brokers conference a couple of weeks ago, and I was trying to, and I spoke to all these mortgage brokers. So I was like, "Tell me about your collabs," and no one had any kind of thing. So I had to, and I was like, "Gosh, I need something." So when I started thinking about, like the 6 parties, I was like, "Well, if I'm so either I'm staying in my house, but I'm actually trying to get a better rate, or I'm using it, I need a mortgage broker and an investment tip because it's a new property. And if it's a new property, there's a whole lot of things. So I was thinking more around like, okay, if I'm interested in a new property, then what about if there was a competition where it actually had, like, how you get like the pest and building inspection, like pest and building inspection. And then it actually had an interior designer for when you moved in. And maybe it had a painter because most of us paint the place when we move in. And then it had a furniture removalist.
Yeah, or a furniture rental for dressing the place beforehand.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
or something.
Like, what if you had the ultimate kind of family upsize deal or family upsize competition or whatever? And so it had the investment strategy with then the removalist, with the interior designer.
Or even Dulux, like a painting company for repainting your investment property, or a newspaper. Someone like, Domain might like something like that as part of it. We'll give you free listings for when you want to rent it out.
Yeah. So you're a buyer's agent, like go the other side of the real estate agent, like look at that. So I think that, and definitely it's, around like who. So I just did a deal and it was actually for an artist and a furniture brand. And so the furniture brand was in a different state. They wanted to do an exclusive, preview of their new collection. I've got this artist who's on the block, and so he's emerging. And I was like, why don't we use the artist gallery? The furniture company knows all the interior designers. The painter doesn't know any the artist doesn't know any interior designers. That's not a road he's gone down yet. So he can get introduced to all of them. So all they're doing is they're contributing like a couple of bottles of champagne and some cheese and biscuits. So I think that when you look at like who that, like for you, like who, like where's the bigger picture? And so I feel like it's very much around that, like I'm going to get a deal, and then I'm actually going to. So then, if it is about investment, and then they're renting it out. So as Jules said, I would always go for like the landlord insurance. So here's a quick tip.
Yeah.
The unsexier the company, the more open they are to a partnership.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, actually. I was even thinking someone like Dulux or someone, although that's maybe too big, but you know, we'll supply the paint, or I don't know, but you could create. My mind's firing on all cylinders now about, because you use the retail price for the valuation, so you could get up to 30 grand. I'm thinking with She's the Boss, we could get to 100 grand pretty fast.
Yeah.
What about the design files? Because you know they
Yes,
already partner with Dulux.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, so that's probably more down the interior design, but I guess going back to what Therese was saying, and that Christine's market is in property investors and ideally women. It's, you know, it might be an interior design consultant. It might be a holiday. Once you've invested, you need a break. You know,
Furniture company. I think the thing is you need, like where's that opportunity? And so just one other thing, when we talk about so all those little companies, right, are easy yes. Like it's a fast yes.
Yeah.
If you put Dulux in with 6 other little companies, they're slow. So if you're going to go for a slow, you go 3 slows or 2 slows. Like you put Dulux and Gyprock together, and you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you've got fast, don't put a slow in with 3 fast.
That's a good idea. And also, like you said, you do the long burn one. So just get the ball rolling with your Dulux and whoever, and then do the other one. Okay, Jen, I love this question. What if you just want money? Selfishly for me, I'd love some dollars to publish my book, e.g. offering the bookmark to go with each book, or potentially offering a paragraph in the book that mentions them.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was going to suggest. Is that possible? If your book is about marketing, there would be marketing companies out there that might chuck you a couple of grand to use one of their clients and their story as an example.
I'd totally go to Xero. That'd be the first person I contact. Right. Because they're not in marketing, but they exist for small business.
Yeah, that's so easy to say though. Like, but I've contacted Xero, like the contact that I have, and you know, can't get them to respond on LinkedIn, sent them an email. Bendigo Bank's another one, like Bendigo Bank with Community Bank. Like, imagine like not them giving money, but imagine if they put me in front of every rural audience, because they're a community bank, to kind of teach their small business owners how to do marketing better. Brilliant. And they got a free book. Like, that's kind of like, well, how do I get in contact with that person?
Well, that's where we leverage our networks, and Christine is already in there. So you and Christine need to have a chat, because she's been working for Bendigo Bank for 10 years doing exactly that.
Yeah.
Around investment.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Like my